our very first tool, which is the Ask the Expert. We do this first because it would make your sprint team very much comfortable with each other and loosen up so they would be more open when giving insights. This is very true and helpful, especially in the context of us Filipinos. You very much know our culture, especially if it's the first time meeting each other. So we would not be comfortable as to giving out or voicing out our opinion openly. So this is very helpful to loosen everyone out. So how do we do this? Of course, first, you need to make sure that everyone has a blue sticky note for them to write on every challenges or relevant or interesting ideas they will hear. So make sure to use one sticky note per idea or per challenges or interesting ideas you will be hearing. So that's where you write it. Write as many ideas as you can, or any challenges. Write as many challenges that you can as you can, right, in this activity with a minimum of 5 sticky notes each member of the sprint team. The sprint team will, of course, be between 5 to 7 people, as we have discussed earlier. So that means if you have 5 team members, excluding you as a facilitator, that would require, or at least be, you require yourself to have, or your team to have 25 challenges. If you are 7 people, then that would be 35 sticky notes at the end of this activity. So your role as a facilitator is to stimulate the discussion. Don't worry, because we have made this easier for you by creating an Ask the Expert discussion guide. So here it is. Questions number 1 to 3, as you can see there, is aimed to scope the challenge you are trying to solve in the sprint. So we cannot solve all the challenges in the world, so we do it one sprint at a time. And after these questions, it should now be clear to the team which line or portion of your service or maybe your product you would want to work on. Questions number 4 to 6 would then help you clarify your target customer for this sprint. This is somewhat similar to a customer persona of design thinking or UX, if you've used or heard of that methodology, but in a much faster and brief manner, because as you know, we have the word sprint, so we should be doing things faster. After questions 1 to 6, the focus of your sprint session should now be clear, both to you and the sprint team. Right? Questions 6 and 7, meaning the latter portion of questions number 6 and then the question number 7, would now help you identify the problems that your business and your customer experiences. Notice the logical progression of these guide questions. Right? So look at the diagram. You can see questions number 1 to 7. It aims to really narrow down the scope of the challenge and which area you should be focusing on and what challenges you have. So you have first guided the team to determine the area of focus for this sprint, followed by identifying the customer whom your sprint output will be impacting. Knowing these two would make the last 2 questions much easier, okay, and much more accurate to answer. So that's it. That's how you execute this tool, Ask the Expert. So we will now proceed with some activity example later, some fun that we would like to do for this session. All right, now let me introduce to you the very handsome program director of School of Design Sprint to hear more about the business voice. And here he is. Huh? So let's start. What product or service do you offer at School of Design Sprint? Well, we actually have a lot because there's a lot of services that we offer. Okay, but what aspect of your business do you want to focus on? Well, we are trying to explore to go online, and we are thinking that it would be cheaper to expand our services online rather than expanding our physical activities. Right. Now, what would your online service do for your customers? We do online facilitation and webinars, where the topic is, of course, about innovation design sprint. Wow, that's awesome. But which among these 2 do you want to focus on? Let's take a pause. Notice how I tried to go back to question number one again because a new information came in, and now the focus question needs to be answered. Remember, your sprint should only focus on one product or service. This is important to guarantee a successful design sprint session. Why? Because you cannot solve all the problem in one sprint. It's better to do one sprint and then one specific challenge or focus area, which we will do specifically in the customer journey map with a pick a target later. But this would be the foundation for that activity. Don't forget, the team should be writing or documenting on a blue sticky note all the challenges or interesting idea they will hear while the activity is happening. Meaning, while the question and answer, if it's while it is happening and not after. The webinar, of course, we would like to explore how we can further expand our webinar offerings. Okay, well, who currently attends your webinar? They actually come from different fields, but most attendees are alumni of our other program, which is the Six Sigma Philippines. Are they the customer you want to attend on your webinar? Yes, but I would like to target other professionals as well who will benefit a lot from this. Professionals who are like tasked to solve innovation challenges would be great. What challenge do you have in your webinar service? Well, I know we are reaching our audience because inquiries are high, but the challenge I mostly see is that sometimes there is a schedule conflict with the schedule of our webinars. Different professionals, of course, would have different schedule of work. But we do not want to create multiple schedule in a month because that would be too much effort on our end. Oh, so that's why. Well, what do you think are the common challenges your target customer experiences? All right, let's take another pause here. Note that if you are facilitating this with your team, it should be the customer expert who should be mainly answering question number 7. Any questions before that would be your business experts, such as your decider, finance expert, marketing expert, all the other team members. But for question number 7 or number on the latter part of question number 6, the voice that you should hear should prominently be coming from the customer expert, or if you have your target customer here in this session, then it would be them. Similar to what I explained earlier, it is time they want to attend, but it has a conflict with their work schedule. There are students who still try to attend, but then in the middle of the program, they receive a call and it limits their experience with us. Okay. Well, that's about it for now. We were able to come up with some sticky notes here or challenges. So let's proceed to the next activity. Okay. So I'm looking forward for the output of your sprint. Thank you. All right. By now, you should have some output of your own based on the questions we asked earlier. As you can see on the screen, we have the Ask the Expert template projected on the screen. So using this guide question, you should have arrived to some output. And as a practice, I was able to come up with some challenges of my own. I have identified based from the Ask the Expert activity example that we had. So let me see the template that we have here. So this is something that I've prepared. So I was able to come up with 5 challenges. So I've used blue sticky notes for you to easily differentiate because we'll be creating a how might we later. So I'm only showing 5, but if you are facilitating this with your team, you should have a total of 25 to 35 sticky notes. Because remember, you should have around 5 to 7 team members if you are facilitating a design sprint, which means 5 each. So 5, 25, or 7, which would be 35 challenges that you were able to identify as a team. While our simulation scenario is about product innovation, service innovation would be similar. The only difference is your goal. Product innovation aims to create or design an output that would be sold or generate revenue. In service innovation, on the other hand, your main goal is to improve the customer experience with the current product or service that you have, meaning you're not aiming to generate income, but rather improve the experience of the customer in using your current product or your service. Similar to the example I discussed earlier, so where traditional banking has been reinvented to an online banking. So basically, same services are being offered, deposit, withdrawal, payments, right? So it's just that the experience is different as compared to the traditional banking method, right? So that's a service innovation. The experience changed, but the same services are being offered. So regardless, you will be executing design sprint the same way. So now it's your turn. What are the challenges or interesting idea you documented on your end? So once you have 5 or more challenges, you can now proceed to the next video. The very first tool that you have to utilize when you are in the understand phase would be the ask the expert. But before that, you would need to know how to execute a how might we. A how might we statement is how we reframe challenges from the normal problem or scenario that you have into an innovation ready format. So for you to do a how might we, you need to put a how might we on the upper left part of the sticky note. You need to wait. And when you hear something interesting, you need to convert it into a question just on your own without talking to your colleagues, without consulting anyone. You are slowly translating the challenges that you have into a how might we statement. And what's the difference between our usual how might we statement in the design thinking and how we do it here at School of Design Spring is we have a specific format that we follow to ensure that your how might we statement would be containing all the elements that it needs in order for it to be innovation ready. So what are the things that you need? The guide template would require for you to put a how might be on your left, on the left hand side of your sticky note, and then an action word of what an improvement or change you want to implement. If you could look at the screen, you would see here some examples of our how might we statement. When you create a how might we statement, you don't want it to be too narrow or too broad. You just want it to be just in the middle, just right. Okay? For you to be innovation ready. Why is that? Because when it is too narrow, okay, if you look at our examples here on the screen, too narrow would mean that you are already giving the solutions. The solutions, it means like you're already boxed what you want to happen, right? So for example, how might we create an app that can help people find landmarks? So it's too narrow because you are already boxing yourself that you would be creating an app. You already limited yourself that in order for you to help people find landmarks, you would need to create an app. The too broad example is how might we find landmarks, right? So yeah, you want to find landmarks, but who do you want to help? And why do you want to achieve that? To be in the middle, which is just right, means like you have an action word, which is the help, and then to whom do you want to apply that action word or to what, right? So you want to help new tourists, and then the improvement or change you want to implement, which is to help people find landmarks easier. So that's just right because yes, I'm saying that I'll be helping new tourists, and then I'll be helping them to find landmarks easier, but I'm not saying that it would be an app. So I'm still open for any option or scenario that may arise during the ideation phase. Okay, this is very important. The how might we is very important because this would help us to be readily available or for the statement to be readily available for you to think of solution. Try to see the difference. Okay, see the difference between a challenge, you have a challenge statement there, and a how might we statement. Which do you think would be easier to come up solutions with? That's the power of the how might we. This is the power of how are we reframing challenges to an innovation ready format. Try it for yourself. If not with your teammates, maybe just on your own. And then later on in the ideation technique that we will be using, we will be applying. And see which one would be easier to solve. The challenge that you have, or when you brainstorm using the how might we state.